Well, it's that time of year already. All the creatures we're stirring this holiday season with all the creatures we're stirring. Another reason to dread the season. This film was released by RLJE Entertainment. You'll find it on Shudder. But then Shudder is very good at making all of these hard copies, and they usually always end up in the dollar store for some reason. That's why this is a dollar bin video. Oh, come all ye evil. This is a Christmas anthology film full of all sorts of spooky horror shorts, and they're all very creative, very well acted, and pretty cheesy sometimes as well. It's an entertaining flick from start to finish, and it is excellent. I usually do not get disappointed with RLJ Entertainment videos, though Bore was a little bit of a bore. But outside of that, most of the RLJ Entertainment flicks I end up picking up are good, including this one. In fact, I would think that if you see this film, you pick it up on Shudder, and you give it a watch, you might even think that it has the merits, potentiality to become the Christmas version of Trick or Treat. Though these anthological pieces are not interconnected like Trick or Treat was. This film is not connected with its storytelling, though there are, let me see if I can remember exactly how many short stories there are, because there are a few that I really enjoy, and the first one I will definitely say I definitely enjoyed, probably the most. You have an office Christmas party, and all of the office employees enter this little meeting room. And in the middle of the meeting room is the table, and it's stuffed full of gifts and presents. And all of the employees have come into this meeting room to basically take turns grabbing a present and opening it at random. None of them have names on it, they're all random. And each person who has a turn can either pick a present from the pile, or look at all the people who have previously taken a present and just take their present instead. So, let's show you how this game is, because you may even enjoy it yourselves. Just buy a bunch of gifts at random and throw them in a pile and basically play this game. So let's say you got this little table right here, right? And on the table you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, blah blah blah. You have all these little presents here. You got employee number 1, employee number 2, employee number 3, employee number 4, employee number 5, employee number 6, employee number 7, employee number 8. So you've got basically 8 employees here, a bunch of presents in the middle. Each person takes a turn. Let's say this person takes a turn. They grab this present here. That present ends up being a bottle of balsamic vinegar. Random, yes. Though if this person whose turn is next wants this person's balsamic vinegar, he could take it for his turn and not pick something from the pile. But instead he decides to pick something from the pile, and the present that he picks up ends up exploding in his face, killing him. And then we know there's something wrong with this present little game. And suddenly the telephone rings. This employee picks it up, and suddenly a voice on the speaker, sounding all sorts of crazed and jokertastically jokerish, starts saying that he has gas pumping in the room from this little vent here, pumping all sorts of gas and all that stuff. And within 10 minutes, everybody is going to die from the gas unless they complete his game. And the game is simple. All they have to do is continue playing. Some of the presents have deadly gifts inside, and others are harmless, like the bottle of balsamic vinegar that the first employee picked up. And all you have to do is keep playing until there's only one left. And that one person will be let go, so to say. And it's very psychological in this regards, because this employee ends up opening this to find an unloaded gun. This employee goes in and finds a knife. This employee goes in and finds a single bullet. And suddenly, this person goes in and finds a tablet. The tablet has all sorts of incriminating evidence of a certain affair that's going on. This person finds photos, and these are incriminating evidence. And we learn that this person has an affair, or rather a crush, on this person. And this person was told to fire this person. So this person takes the knife that this person picked up. This person takes his gun and the bullet that he picked up and loads the weapon. The weapon ends up backfiring, taking him out. This person has already been killed. And then the gas starts to come in. This person picks up another gift and it ends up being a gas mask. And then they all turn on this person and they all basically just slaughter each other. Until this person takes this person's gas mask, puts it on, and walks out of the building at the end of the short. And then the short just ends after that. That was very dark, but very entertaining at the same time. You could tell this was low budget, but the effects were excellent. They were very excellent. They were practical effects. There was no CG nonsense, except for the gas. The gas was CG, but outside of that, it looked very good. Everything looked good. Everybody was acting. The acting was cheesy but good at the same time. It was entertaining. This entire little short was about 5 to 10 minutes, but it was entertaining from start to finish. So I knew right away what I was watching after that short ended. And I was excited for the next one. The next one, I'm trying to remember, there's a couple of them, I'm getting them mixed up. I had to pause this halfway through to do something for about a few hours, so you will have to forgive my lack of memory. This one I remember the best because it's probably my favorite one. Near the end, I remember this last one the better than others. So the next one here, the last short, ends up being about this dude who stays home for the holidays. We have this guy in his little room. He's sitting right here in his bed, and he's chaining himself up. He's like getting some chain link things, chaining himself to the bedpost. But then he gets a knock on the door, right? He gets a knock. Pat, pat, pat. So he has to go to the door, and suddenly bursting in are all of his friends. They all come in. They go like, "Merry Christmas," blah, 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 blah. And then his girlfriend saunters over to him. And he goes like, "Why are you here?" And they say, "We decide to bring Christmas to you," blah, 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 blah. But then something happens. And one of them goes outside to smoke a cigarette. He tries to tell her what's going on, but she doesn't listen, right? So she's outside smoking a cigarette, when suddenly something sparkles like a shooting star from up in the sky. And she loses some sort of consciousness. When she comes to, she enters into the house again and finds that everybody is now at the dinner table, strangely enough. 3 seats here, 2 seats over here. Her friend sits here, so she goes to sit at this table here. And then the place setting, we got the place settings, you know how that is. You know how a dinner table is, but it's in black and white suddenly. It went from color to black and white, and naturally the girlfriend goes like, "What's going on?" And then these guys act all sorts of weird and creepy, and she doesn't know what's going on. And he ends up explaining to her, this is what happens to him every Christmas. Apparently he gets abducted by aliens, and they want to learn about Christmas from him. And then she ends up explaining to the aliens that she's never celebrated Christmas because her parents don't celebrate Christmas. She's never gotten presents before. And so this kind of moves them. So they return them to Earth and give them a Christmas tree and presents, and they have a note saying, "You should spend Christmas together," blah, 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 blah. And it's a sweet, wholesome little ending to a very creepy alien thing. So there was that. That was pretty excellent. One of the more forgettable ones, but had a very interesting trope, involved a truck driver. So let's have our little truck driver here. We have the truck driver here with the trucks and the wheels and all that stuff. He's riding along on this little road here. And suddenly, the truck driver hears a thud, a thunk, a little thunk. He hears a thunk. So he goes outside to take a look. He opens his little door here, and he steps outside and sees that there is the corpse of what appears to be a reindeer. He's got the little reindeer antlers. There's his little body. He ends up hitting a reindeer, right? But then the reindeer starts to move, and the guy screams in terror, and he decides to put the deer out of its misery. So he slams his head with a rock, splits it open. Ooh. He gets back into his truck and drives home. And then he realizes there's something else going on at his house. There's creepy noises upstairs. He hears thunks on the rooftop. And he decides to go upstairs to find out what's going on. So he heads up these little stairs. He walks into the room up here. And then he ends up seeing deer antlers. And they impale into the man. And he gets impaled by deer antlers into his gut, and he starts choking up blood, and then he falls down. His girlfriend ends up heading up the stairs, too. She goes up these stairs, and then she finds him on the floor. She screams. And then we get a flashback. We get a flashback back to this road here. And we see there's a collar on the floor next to the dead deer. And the name of Blitzen is there. He ran over Blitzen! So Blitzen is a zombie now and has come back to get revenge on the poor man who ran him over. Man, this feels like Creepshow, man. It's excellent. I love it. I love it. I love it. What else? What else? Let's see. Try to remember some other ones. This one. This one feels like a Safe Light auto repair commercial, right? I can remember it from the start to finish here. So here's how we get this one started. First, we have a parking lot. So let's just draw this little parking lot here. We have a man exiting a store. It's Christmas Eve. It's nighttime. There's nobody here in this little parking lot. There's nobody in any of these spaces except for his car right here. So he heads over to his car. He's picking up his phone, talking to his wife. His wife is asking him if he's picked up all of the gifts. And he says, yes, he's picked them all off. His hands are full of them with wrapping paper and all that other good stuff. He goes to his car. He opens the back seat. He puts the gifts in. He closes the door softly. We can see that the door is left ajar. He hasn't noticed it, though. He heads over to this side of the car, puts himself into the car, puts his keys into the ignition, and puts his phone on the console. He turns it on, and he sees there's a second light on. Door ajar. He gets up, checks the back seat, closes the door, and his front door closes as well. And then he hears a click. He's dreading it. Oh no, he checks both the front and the back door, they're locked. He checks in, he sees his keys are in the ignition, and his phone is on the console. He has been locked out of his car. Oh dear. This is why you always keep a spare key somewhere on your person. So now he's stuck. He goes back over to the storefront. The door is locked, the lights are off, the employee's left. So he's freaking out, going like, where the heck's, how do I do this? Where can I get a phone? And then he sees a lone van parked right over here. Down in the boony dark, the parking lot. So he walks all the way over here, knocks on the van's door, and says, hey, do you guys happen to have a phone? And one of the ladies steps out of the van. And this is one of those vans where you could say the only people who own something like this are either A, stoners, B, creepy people you don't want to associate with, and C, painting contractors. Considering the modernity of the area, we probably don't have stoners here. And considering the whole Christmas Eve-ness, I don't think it's a painting contractor. So it might be creepy people you don't want to deal with. One of the ladies comes out of the van. There's two ladies in here. One of them does look like one of those 70 stoners. So she hands him a phone, an old flip phone. He calls up the auto people to be like, hey, come get my car unlocked so I can get out of here. And they go like, alright, we'll be there in 30 minutes. Then he calls his wife saying he'll be there soon after he gets himself into the car and all that good stuff. So he thanks them, and they drive off, but not before he says that his birthday is December 25th. So they leave the parking lot and they drive off. He walks back to his car, sitting there waiting. And he sees the van driving all off, and then it stops, turns around, and re-enters and parks right next to his vehicle. And they step out of the van, and he's a little bit unnerved. Why'd they do that? So one of the ladies in the shotgun seat tosses him a jacket and says, we don't want you freezing to death, because he put his jacket in the back seat before he got himself locked out of his car. So he puts the jacket on, he feels all nice and warm and cozy, and they step out to hang out with him. And they ask him what his plans are for Christmas, and he says, alright, I plan to go back home eventually, blah, 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 blah. And he goes like, family, what can you do? Sometimes you just want to, and they kind of feel unnerved about that. He goes in to check the van, he sees that something noises in there. There might be a third person in there, but they say, nope, it's just us. He goes in to check, he sees a creepy hand. And he goes in to check, and then one of the ladies pulls out a knife and slashes his hand. And the other starts speaking a spooky witch incantation. Some purple light shows up, and this little boundary circle forms. And then suddenly this creepy little demon thing comes out. One of the ladies thinks she's free and runs off beyond the boundary, but the ritual wasn't completed. So the creepy demon goes after her and kills her. And then the other woman that remains explains to him the rules of the curse that he's been now cursed with. He's now tethered to this demon. If he goes within 20 feet away from this creature, the creature will kill him. So he has to stay in the van. He's trapped. He can only free himself by transferring the curse to somebody else, but the other person has to also have been born on Christmas Day. These guys say they've been stuck in this van for 3 years. He might get lucky and find somebody else within that time. And that's pretty sad to say, This person drives off with his car, leaving him to his death. And it's like, the only way you can get out of this is by dooming somebody else. Kind of sad story, but that's a hip, typical horror trope for you, right? And that's the end of that little horror short. And there's a couple others like that. I don't want to spoil too many of them, but that's the type of typical horror tropes you'll expect to find in this treasure trove horror anthology around Christmas time. And I honestly loved this thing. I loved it. And I would say that it's definitely worth your time.